Started and welcome everybody. Um, all right, first item of business is the public hearing. It's a request to change zoning from A1 agriculture to R119 residential on the following properties. Reed and Sally Nelson, serial number 290630025, 5146000001, 3007600066, and then also Robert and Linda Nelson, parcel serial number 4405900003. Have anybody here? Yeah. Oh, Ted. Already a correction? Oh, yeah. I knew that we were going to do that, but I didn't know. So this is a public hearing on whether or not we want to keep Toby. So, yeah, please.
So we just want to make a quick introduction to the council for those of you who haven't met. This is Toby. He is our new public works employee, full-time employee. We went through the interview process, interviewed some great candidates, and sent out a offer to Toby, and he accepted it. He's been working for us now, kind of part-time, doing the mitigation work, helping the chipping crew for a few weeks, and then came on full-time last week, and been doing a great job. I don't know if you've walked through the Public Works building downstairs, but much easier to walk through now. And I've been taking care of our salt shed, stacking salt for us and stuff. So putting up signs. So doing a really good job. Toby lives here in town. What's that?
Breaking new equipment.
Fixing.
I think he was just.
Um, so, been doing a great job. We just wanted to introduce you to Toby, the council. So if you see him driving around town, working on city stuff, you'll recognize him. And
We scared each other, remember?
Yeah, we did. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity you guys give me to work here. And a little more training. Get down. Anyway, no, I appreciate the opportunity and I look forward to working for you guys. So
Cool.
You don't work for us, you work for him and him.
well, you guys seem like a great
We
team.
got a
1,700 bosses.
You guys seem like a great team.
welcome, we appreciate you.
Thanks,
a lot.
Toby.
Thank you, Toby.
Thanks, Toby.
Thanks.
Ted. All right. Well, I'm not going to read those parcel numbers again. But if we have anybody here from the public that would like to make a comment on this, the time is yours. Robert? I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add. We're just offering the public comment period for the parcel rezoning. But so far, nothing.
I'm curious what Robert did. What'd you do to your arm, Robert? Oh, okay.
Okay, well, there being nothing, we will close.
Come on up to the microphone.
Oh, you did have something. Yeah, please come on up.
My name is Jeff Weddle. I live at 75 West Oak Drive, and so I back up to parcel number 3007600066, the 19.87 acres. And with all full respect for Mr. Reed and Nelson in owning that property, I would also ask that the council take consideration in how they zone that in density. I moved to Woodland Hills in 2009, so I've been here for many, many years. And the reason that I was drawn to Woodland Hills was simply because this wasn't suburban Utah. And that's what this community has been. And as we look at and we call ourselves the jewel of the Wasatch Front, to me, that's what a jewel is the beautiful open spaces that we have, the way that the zoning has been regulated, and going to four homes per acre, that totally changes that particular zoning structure from what the Western Woodland Hills is. And I would ask the council to please consider that. And is that the direction that you want to take us? We have few open spaces left in our city that of that size that we could build in. And do we want to become a suburban community? I would say no. I would say we have a beautiful thing here, and that's why people are drawn to this area and have been drawn to our community. And so, again, respectfully, I would ask you to consider that as you consider the rezoning of this issue.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate you offering your commentary. All right. Anybody else? Robert? Will you just come up to the microphones? We're recording the meeting.
It was just mentioned that he said that there'd be 4 lots per acre. It actually ended up being 2 per acre. By the time you have your road in there and everything, it averages very close to 2. They're generally half acre. Between 0.44 is the smallest they allow. Unless you did the overlay zone that you have available with the R19 zone. But with the zoning of R119, it gives you a lot of, the smallest lot could be in there is 0.44. So it puts you really close to 2 lots per acre instead of the 4. And I don't think Reed plans on doing anything with this in the near future. He's just asked me to see if I could rezone a spot over here for his son to build, or his grandson. I said, while we're doing it, would you like me to take it all the way through, take them all through? And he said yes. So even though it's rezoned to R119, yes, it may happen next week. I mean, they may be able to start building next week, but I don't see it for years down the road. But I just want to make sure you recognize it's only 2 per acre instead of 4.
Okay, thank you. For clarification.
Thanks for clearing that up.
All right. Anything else?
Didn't you think it was 4 per acre?
Then we'll close the public hearing portion of our meeting. Item 2, I don't know what the acronym, LAA, but the MAG is offering basically a city management type of a position to come and help, especially cities of smaller size. So is someone here to present on that? Because we were expecting somebody from MAG. Okay, well, maybe they'll show up later and we can,
There's a big wreck southbound on the freeway, so that may have delayed them a little bit.
okay, well, if they
It
show
was
up,
backed up.
we'll move on to item 3 then.
Will we for sure go back to this, even if they don't show? So if we
Well,
have
it's-
any
it's-
discussions on it?
We wouldn't,
I
we
don't
don't
know
have any
what we would
information.
discuss
Okay.
because they're going to be basically saying
Okay,
some
so
of
you don't
the,
have any.
other than they've offered it as a service, but particulars I don't
Okay,
have.
all right.
Really. All right. Item 3, proposed changes to City Code Title 11, Woodland Hills subdivision ordinance to ensure consistency and compliance with current state requirements. Wayne, will you present that, please?
Start small, Wayne.
This has been talked about a little bit. Do you want me to share the background, or are you
I
familiar?
need it. I don't
Okay.
know about the others.
This passed earlier in this year. The state legislature passed a modification of towns and cities ordinances. There have been a problem that's been brought to their attention by obviously developers with the amount of time that the cities take to go through this process and ultimately approve subdivisions. And so the goal that the state legislature has is to restrict the time, review time of proposed ordinances and put some criteria in place that would help that, make not the reviews not as extensive, but yet complete as felt necessary. So in doing that, for smaller communities like ourselves, they've offered help in the form of professional people, a couple of attorneys firms who do this kind of work a lot. This help to cities such as ourselves to craft the ordinance changes that are required. So we've taken advantage of that. There's no cost to the city to do that. The state has paid this funding through a grant. So we reached out to a company that's affiliated with Jones and DeMille, who has done this type of work, and engaged their services to take our ordinances and with some guidelines from us to craft amendment to it to now meet the state statute that's been passed. And so there's been part of that is a legal review, and we've gone, our own city attorneys have contracted with the state to do this, again, being paid by the state. So we've gone to Smith Hargbeson, who are our city attorneys, and for their legal review. The larger communities, this was required for them to do at the beginning of the year, and we have a deadline of the end of December to have completed this process. And again, we've been relying upon these companies to provide this kind of support for us, and we're cutting some time really close in our review process and getting it adequately processed. The other element that's been added into this is that the city council will no longer review and approve subdivisions in the city. The planning commission will be the approval authority for subdivisions.
I did notice, yeah, council was removed. I know.
Yes, yeah.
I read
And
that.
again, I think from what I understand, complaints that reached the legislature that just there was an inordinate amount of time being taken to process these applications. And so they felt if they pushed it down one level to the planning commission, that they're hoping that those time lags would be eliminated to some degree.
But it is a mandate.
It is.
Our hands are tied.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that our city decided. It's a
No.
state.
Yeah. Choice is taken from us, and with the city council review, that's no longer. We'll work out a system in our city where we keep you informed of, particularly when we approve one, give you a little summary of what it is, where it's at, etc. So you're kept in the loop on those as they go forward.
Yeah, because we do get questions from
Yes.
citizens, and it's hard when we don't know the answers.
Yep.
Okay.
And we realize that. So we'll incorporate that into our processes.
Do you have any feeling, Wayne, how cities are reacting to this? I mean,
I didn't.
to me, it's crazy. I mean, because people are going to be making decisions in every city in Utah that aren't elected. And I just wonder if you've heard any feedback or any chatter about it.
I haven't. I think in some instances, I can see a council saying, thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore,
Oh,
and the planning commission's going to do it. And we're certainly open to any thoughts or suggestions that you have as we go through processing things, ideas that might help us be more efficient or communicate in greater detail to you all to keep you informed of what's happening and going on. So,
And Senator McKell's coming first part of January if you want to take it up with him too, because
yeah, just to get their side of it would be helpful to me, you know.
Does this pull us out of the preliminary as well?
that's
Yeah.
part of it. We're doing away with a preliminary plat
Completely.
and
okay.
combining it into a single plat that will go forward in review. And we call it a final plat. So there is only one plat that we'll be dealing with now, and not a preliminary and a final. We'll also be dealing with a concept plan if a developer wants to come in, talk to planning commission or city staff about, here's my concept, this is kind of what I'd like to do. Do you have any suggestions for me, or what do I need to do to move this through the process? So that's another part of what we'll be doing. That hasn't happened too often in the past. I think the developers that we've had have been fairly knowledgeable about things. We've had a few individuals who wanted to subdivide their property, and we've had meetings with them and sit down and talk to them. But from a developer standpoint, most of them are in the loop, so to speak, on what needs to be done. And questions always come up, and we're here to answer those questions and help in any way that we can.
Wayne, is
So-
there, I've got a few things that have come up recently, and as I was in planning commission and I've thought about this since we talked about it, or since y'all talked about it. One of those, is there a legal way for the city council to be able to give input during this process, that we could kind of see during that process of your review, and we can review it too, and give our input, not necessarily hold anything to any standards, because obviously we don't have a vote in that. But could we review these things as well? Is that possible?
As anybody in the public can do it. You can come to our meetings. We do have a public hearing or public time for people to express things. If you have questions during our meetings, usually we're a little less formal than you all here in city council meeting, and we certainly entertain questions, but not any big, long discussion. But the city staff will be reviewing these, and also, so you're welcome to come when we do that. It's kind of do it as they come, with no schedule or anything. So,
And that would be the problem. So I was just wondering if it could be said like an overview of the idea of it, so that if we get questions, we have some answers and we could give input to, and also tell other people when it's going to come to, I know when those public hearings are going to happen. But I'm the council rep for planning commission.
I was
so
gonna
not
say, you're already
everybody-
on the committee, so
Yeah,
you're gonna.
I'm not
have
on the
anyway.
committee, and I'm not a voting member, but I do get those notices. But it would be nice for us to be able to see it, so that we could say, if someone comes to us and says, ask us a question, or if we have input from things we've heard from residents, that we might be able to do that during your committee is going through it, or commission, I apologize.
they'll be on the agenda. So, and we'll be having some rather, I suspect, some lengthy discussions about it.
Yep.
Other than me knowing about it, it may be the very first time that the rest of the commission is hearing about this particular subdivision. It won't have been before them before. And so likely a lot of the questions that you might have will be answered amongst the commissioners as they're discussing it, talking about it, and so forth. And we're open to questions that you might have as well, as the public, in questioning some of the particulars of the subdivision. But I suspect there's going to be some rather detailed discussion about it in our commission meetings. So.
Okay, Jody, you had something to add?
So just like with tonight's meeting, it was publicly noticed. It has to be advertised hearing on the state transparency website, and we also have to send notices to those affected parties that are in the area. And that's why I'm assuming, Jeff, you got a notice in the mail, and maybe some of the other residents that are here got notices in the mail of this public hearing tonight. So that will be a way, as far as a means for the council to report, get a report on which ones we're seeing or what we're doing. I guess that would require maybe with the mayor, because he would be involved in our staff meetings where we probably discuss what are coming to us, or Councilmember Hilliard, who is also at our staff meetings, or just a simple email to Chairman Branson or any of the commissioners. But there wouldn't be an opportunity to have like this back and forth
like we've become accustomed to over the
Yeah.
last number of years. That kind of goes away with the new state.
And if anytime you want I mean, these, the planning commission approval could take a couple of months. Have some discussion in one meeting and carried forward to another meeting, particularly if there's some issues and things like that. And I'm welcome to come and talk to you about it. It's your time.
That's not entirely correct. You do have to make a decision within a certain amount of days.
Yeah, we got so many days.
Yeah, the
Uh,
state legislation.
Once you receive a full, complete application, right? That you've got to determine that it's a full application before that time starts. But is it like 45 or 90 days? I can't remember.
30 days.
30 days. So yeah, it's unless it's not a full application, it's likely not going to get that that time frame, multiple meetings, right? Because they only meet once a
Correct.
month.
And seldom do we get a full application even now.
True.
So
Very
there's
true.
quite a bit of back and forth with some of that too. So
Okay, well, that answers that question. Another question that I had came up last night. I was actually watching the news, and South Jordan city council just approved a subdivision, which sounds like they should have already been following this new legislation, but they weren't, and they approved one. And now the citizens are trying to go back. And I looked as extensively as I could. My eyes would cross every once in a while. I'm not a lawyer on reading a 60-page document. And even our appeal authority looks like it's going back to another appointed position, appointed by the mayor. Is that, again, I wonder how South Jordan is not following the new law, unless they're going to do it January 1st. Maybe that's the case. I don't know if that's when they have to follow it, but it was the city council who did it. And I'd like to know a little more about the and I wish I didn't have it up on my computer, but the authority that those appeals would go to. So the residents have got a way of appealing something like this that has gone through without because they're not getting represented when we're pulled out.
truth be known, the reason the residents don't know about it is they're not going to council meetings and hearing about it. And council will go ahead and make decisions,
I know.
and the residents aren't there. They don't know about it until after the fact. And now they're up in arms about it.
This particular one was
So-
not that case.
So
but,
what they're doing up there is they're having to do a referendum on it and get over 8,000 signatures
Yep.
by tomorrow night in order to try to
it's
stop
like a
it
10-day thing in ours.
by the time when it
Yeah.
passed, and that was
Yeah.
last week.
Yep.
So, but there will be an appeal authority, but in our city, but it will be directed more towards the developer if for some reason we as a planning commission
Deny.
turn down the
Okay.
development.
Okay. So
So,
a referendum would be the only way that people would, after it's approved, just like it is now, would be the only way for citizens to do that. Okay,
Correct.
I had a question.
now if we have a public hearing and on that night that we're going to be reviewing that and approving it, and we have the public come and say, I don't think this should be happening, and this is why, and this is why. And the planning commission takes those things under advisement and decides not to approve it at that time. Maybe there's some issues with it that before were not known, then that would be not approved that night, and things would go forward. Maybe additional information needs to be gathered by the city before a decision is made. So that could be another possible avenue that would delay approving a new development.
Could that be so that's a reason to actually extend out that 30 days if there's
If
public
a referendum is filed.
referendum would be for sure,
Yes.
but
Or if
if in a public hearing there was
comment, yes,
that you could, okay, great, that answers my question.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
sure,
Okay, thanks.
okay.
Any other questions for Wayne on this?
So what we're going to present to you tonight is that we received a final draft from the company has been working on the draft. And there's been a lot of back and forth between us and them with some minor corrections and changes and clarifications that we felt. We got their document the end of last week. So we're, again, a bit of a time crunch. So at the same time, we sent that document then to our attorneys for their legal review of it. And they came up with some issues that they didn't feel were adequately addressed in it. But what we're presenting to you tonight is the final draft of the legal review of the document that was given to us by the drafters, again, going to our attorneys and back to us. There is likely to be a few other tweaking and a few changes of that. So the presentation to you tonight in council meeting will be to accept that with any further changes that the legal review may come back to us with suggestions to make some changes in that. So that way it won't have to come back again. We can meet the end of December deadline without having another potential council meeting at this time of year. So I want you to be aware of that, though, and think on that if you feel comfortable in going forward with that kind of a conditional approval, so to speak.
But it would be limited to
What the
legal-
council, yeah, what our legal counsel now is suggesting to do this or that, or tweak it, or include this or take that out. And nothing major. Okay, we've started that process already with them yesterday and today. And so there's been a few changes. What Jody sent to you tonight was the latest clean copy that we have of that. So
As I read through it, one of the things that I was concerned about was the planning commission being able to change zoning and stuff like that. And it appears that planning commission's job is to make sure it meets the zoning requirements of the city, but just because it's a subdivision doesn't give them the ability to change those zoning.
correct. Those will still come through you.
Correct. And I
Through
wanted
the
to make
planning
sure
commission.
that nothing like that, nothing substantive in the changes that could be made, if we were to conditionally approve that those kind of substantive changes couldn't be made to that document then we've got our approval unknowingly happening.
Correct.
Because that was one of my big concerns with that when I thought more about it, is how that zoning process would still happen.
Yes.
Because that still needs to come to, well, I don't necessarily want to vote against how some of my friends are feeling on things, but I think that's what they voted me into this office to do. And I think we still should maintain that. And I wanted to make sure that the state law didn't allow that kind of thing to happen.
Right.
So I did read the document.
Okay.
And read the last one as much as I could before the meeting today. But yeah, that kind of approval would be, as long as there's nothing substantive that
Yeah.
would be.
Just
changed
for
it.
your information, likely the zoning will occur before the subdivision is approved.
Correct. And that's better
So
be.
that's
Because if it doesn't meet that zoning,
Correct,
then
then there's
you
no-
can't approve it.
Right.
So,
So, yeah. Any more questions on that? Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Wayne.
Thank you.
Well,
I might be next.
I think
we've got our
mag.
MAG representative here. So can we come back to you, Wayne, if that's cool? All right. Hi, welcome.
Thank you very much. Sorry, and thank you for your patience.
No, glad you could make it.
I'm gonna hand you my card and a handout really quick before I get into my.
Thank you, Spencer.
That's okay.
I told him the freeway was bad, so you're good.
It was bad. It shot me into Spanish Fork.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me come and visit with you tonight. Just by way of introduction, My name is Spencer Foster. I joined MAG about 6 months ago, and I am the local administrative advisor for our AOG here. Let me tell you a little bit about the program. In 2023, the legislature, ULCT went to the legislature and basically said, hey, there's like 140 towns, cities and towns throughout the state that really are limited with their staff. Their populations are small. They don't have city managers. How about we help them? How about we give some funding to the AOGs in the area and get some support for these small towns. And so this program was then formed as a result. Any cities and towns through Utah County, Wasatch County, and Summit County with a population of less than 10,000 don't have a full-time city manager. They qualify for this program through MAG. And so Woodland Hills is one of those cities that qualifies. As you can see on the handout I gave you, there's some examples of projects that we've been helping other communities with. Some close to home, Elkridge, we've been helping them quite a bit. They've reached out a lot and asked us to do certain projects. We helped them with an RFP for a park that they're going to do, Goose Nest. Yeah, so we helped them create an RFP for that. We have been working with them to do impact fee updates. We've been helping Goshen do an ADU ordinance and an annexation policy plan. There's a ton of stuff that we can help with. The only limitations for this program are land use. So things like you just heard with SB 174, the subdivision ordinance that was discussed just now. That's one of the things that there's a different funding mechanism for cities and towns to be able to utilize other services than this program. But really, there's a lot of stuff that I can do to help out. Can I ask, how many full-time employees do you have here?
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. So I'm sure you probably don't have specific departments. You don't have a specific human resources department or a planning department. Yeah, you have like you and other staff that do those things, right?
Not me yet, not there. Yeah, and I actually 6, I didn't count Wayne. Wayne is our full-time,
Zero pay.
free,
Zero pay.
volunteer, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's one of the main reasons that this program was formed, so that you have another staff member basically that can go in and help your full-time staff do projects that you maybe don't have the bandwidth to do. And I can help you by doing other projects for other towns, cities and towns. I've been doing other things, and I have been creating templates and throwing those resources up on our repository so that you can use those things as well. So that you're not starting from scratch with like doing a short-term rental ordinance or a accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Like there's other towns that I've been working on things for, and that we can do the same things for you.
Do you get involved with grants at all?
We do. We're helping. I think we're helping Elkridge apply for some parks and trails kind of things.
Okay.
And then we just submitted a grant application for 3 of the LA communities, Daniel, Charleston, and Hennifer, to participate in the TAG program so that they can update their general plans. So grant opportunities, that's one of the things that I'm available to do. And to send out information, opportunities that maybe would qualify for Woodland Hills projects. once a month, I send out a newsletter. I think that maybe all of you are on my list now that I send emails to. I send out an LA newsletter from our NAV location, and I put various grant opportunities on there and training opportunities, things like that. On our website, which you can either go to the QR code on your phone or you can just go to magutah.gov/LAA. There's a list of all sorts of projects that we're helping with and examples to give you, maybe spur your thoughts. Maybe that will help you think of things that maybe I can help with, things that maybe you're in need of help with. Maybe your staff have some ideas, and they can reach out to me and ask, hey, can you help us look through our personnel policies? I'm helping 3 or 4 towns do that right now. So just all sorts of things that we can help with.
Pickleball courts?
What's that?
Can you help us get a grant for a pickleball court?
There's all sorts of grants for park stuff. So we have a grant writer that looks into all sorts of things at MAG, and we'll funnel some information your way if that's something you're.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That is.
Well, I
something we're
think-
definitely
It's on the
interested
list.
in. It is definitely on the list.
One thing that, we've talked a little bit about, and I know that MAG presented this a while back and we expressed interest in it. But I'm glad that there is because, it's almost like you got to audit where you're lacking. And so for our part, on the staffing level, I do think that there would be value in us going through this list and seeing if there are some specific resources. I mean, because the one thing we've got to be careful of, being as short-staffed as we are, is just creating more administrative work for ourselves. So I think that that's something that we have to be guarded against. But at the same time, if you've invented the wheel on some of these things, there's no reason for us to reinvent it.
One of the things that I've really tried to emphasize with all of the towns that I'm helping is that I'm one staff member to help 19, 20 communities. And so I try and focus on maybe the top 3 priorities that I can help with in a community or an agency. So I don't want your staff to just feel like they're thinking of things so that there's more work for them to do. I want them to think of projects that they're already wanting to get done that maybe I can help with and be a support to them.
Yeah,
Make the job easier for them.
that's great.
Because that's what I've been trying to do with other agencies. And they've just said, hey, take this off our plate. We don't have the time or the bandwidth to worry about this specific project. Can you take it? And a lot of times I'll be able to do that.
And how many hours do we get?
Depends on the project that you send my way. If it's
There's
something,
no cap, though?
No, it just it kind of goes into my project list, and then I work with my bandwidth and meet together with you guys on Zoom calls or whatever with your staff and touch base, and just depends on the project, honestly.
So no upper limit is what I'm hearing. And
Yeah,
I'm only
I
joking.
can tell you that Elk
You
Ridge.
might regret this invitation, but
Oh, no, not at all. Elk Ridge, I can tell you, they want me to do everything for them. So they are sending me project after project, and I remind them, hey, let's focus on 3 of these.
you got to set
Another
some
one.
boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. So because there's 19, soon to be 20, because Spring Lake is coming on. Salem might be dropping off, so it might go back down to 19. But yeah, there's a lot of communities that need help, but I don't have a cap on hours. It just depends on the project, on what specific need you guys have.
Seems like it could be a real helpful
Yeah.
opportunity. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Spencer or comments? Or
I like the template. I like that you have
Yeah.
that available. I think that's
So yeah,
awesome.
I'm going to turn this around real quick. I'm going to go down
No gatekeeping.
on the website really quick, and just right here is what we have so far. I'm going to clean this up and make it look prettier, but I've been here for 6 months. I've just been throwing all these things on there, links and all sorts of things onto our website. I just put an ADU template on there today because I did a ADU ordinance for Wallsburg. They didn't have one. They wanted to use one, so I didn't have to start from scratch on that one either because I had already gone and helped Goshen create one. I just had to change some things and make it applicable to their agency. So
I love that.
that's the whole idea, is trying to get all as many resources as you guys need, so that if there's a project that you're like, hey, we need to do this, let's check on the LA website, see if they already have it, make our job easier, and then change the template to fit our needs. That's the whole idea. So if you don't even need my help, you can go to the resources and quickly do it yourself. Or if you do need my help, you can send me a quick email and say, hey, we need help with this. And we didn't see a template on here, so help us make a template. So if you go on here to the resources and templates on the website and see something that it's like, we need a template of this, let me know, and I'll throw it on there and I'll specifically build it for you and then put it on the website for other communities as a result. And then your template will be the template that goes on, and they can change it how they want. So,
Excellent.
so yeah,
I really like
very
that.
happy to help. Utilize me however the LAA program qualifies, and I'll help however you need me. So just let me know.
And we had Mag come to our staff meeting yesterday with
Okay.
the Railroad Show too, so it's nice to
Nice.
hear about some of these resources that I think can be the city and the residents.
Awesome. And then I'll keep sending you my newsletter. If you see anything in there that piques your interest, if there's a project I'm doing for someone else that's like, hey, this could be good for us, then either mayor or one of your staff members reach out and let me know.
Excellent.
Be happy to help any way we can. So
Okay. Well, thank you,
Okay.
Spencer. Thanks for being here tonight. Hopefully-
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but
okay,
if you
I
decide
probably
to
will
not-
stick around
Okay.
and
Maybe
make
the
sure I
first order
know
of
more.
business will be to tighten up our city council meetings. So.
Yeah. Hey, we do
Good
training.
luck.
Any training that you may need, we do that as well. I spent about an hour in Cedar Fort doing an open meetings training. I know a lot of attorneys will generally do that, but they said, hey, we don't want to pay our attorney $150 an hour, and you come and train us on this.
Okay.
So trainings as well. That fits the bill. So,
Quit offering us more stuff. You're already busy, remember?
I am busy, but I
wants
love
to
to
stay
help.
that
Yeah.
way. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Wayne, back to you. So this is what the public hearing was about, the request to change zoning.
You had the public hearing.
We did, yeah. I'm
So-
saying, are you gonna?
Yeah, I just want to comment that the planning commission looked at this and reviewed it. We didn't have a public hearing, not required to, but we had any public input. There was none. So we didn't get any adverse comments about it. This, there's always a concern when rezone requests are made, and let me just comment on a few things. They're requesting R119, which is the smallest actual zone that we have. We have an overlay zone that's actually smaller, that is Summit Creek uses, but they seldom use that smallest overlay as part of their R119. But most of the R119s end up being larger than R119 is the smallest you can go, which is 19,000 square foot, the size of a lot. But most of our R119s in the cities are they're not double that, but they're a third more than that. So they're not scrunched together so much as we're used to seeing. But we looked at that. We felt this was we've long looked at the bottom of the north part of the city, the farmland down there, the way it's laid out and so forth, and looking to the future, feel that there will be some homes that are closer together than maybe what we're used to seeing up here. But that's the way it's going. We leave a lot up to the developer. It's his property, their property, and we work with them on it in a way that we hope that it's beneficial to both the city as well as the developer. But we felt unanimously about the rezone request that's being made, and that's our recommendation to the council to adopt those rezones to R119. So now just let me clarify one thing. While they maybe have put use to agriculture, they're not all currently agriculture. One is a 5-acre developed, but it's used, maybe used in the past for agriculture. So they're varied, but they've been generally used for agriculture in the current zones that they've had. So just wanted to share that.
Perfect. Wayne, I'm looking at the general plan, and it looks like most of the land we're talking about, except for one of the parcels in the general plan, is scheduled here to be an R119.
Yes.
The only one that's not is that one property to the east of Woodland Hills Drive, that is in the general plan set for R2. Very much similar to basically the whole city up to the city building and just past a little bit. Did you guys have any conversation at all in Planning Commission about that? Or have we, in our current review of the general plan, I don't think we've gotten to this point yet, but is this looking like something we would have been changing already in the general plan to shift that to an R19? R119?
No, and it's not up to the city to do that. We look to the property owner if they want to make a change. I'm
Yeah.
sure that R2 has been in existence for a long, long time.
For sure.
But as you look forward, I think, again, didn't cause us any concern to make that R119.
The reason I ask is I know that there is precedence in state courts that basically state, you know what, if it's in your general plan, zoned that way, and a resident asks for it, and if we don't grant it and it's in our general plan, we can get in big trouble there. What I'm looking at, I'm just curious if we had discussed at all that east.
No,
part
but I would suspect as the general plan's being redone now, there'll be some revision and relooking at some of that as a new plan is developed.
Wonderful.
So
And I
it
know
fits in with the rest of.
Four Seasons is already R119, and I feel it's going well there. So
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Wayne?
Yeah, so Wayne, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to ask. When this gets changed from an agriculture, which a lot of it is, does that automatically, and I mean, we've heard that they're not planning to build except for one lot right now. Does that change their tax base, how they're going to pay and Greenbelt or anything like that they might be concerned about? And maybe you know that.
To my understanding, Greenbelt is more based on the use of it
Usage? Okay.
rather than the
That's what I
zone.
thought.
Yeah,
of
I just
Greenbelt.
was over here mumbling. Not until they change the use of the property. You can change the zoning, but until they change the use, it won't affect their taxes. So the minute a new plat is recorded and they start subdividing, then they'll pay regular taxes.
Okay, so as soon as this one house that they're planning to build now, that lot or that whole plot will end up changing, or will it just
Just
be
that one
just that
piece.
one piece? Okay, I didn't know how making sure that
People get
are-
around that all the time by just sticking a beehive on their property. And then they use that land's being used for farming. Like they get around.
Yeah.
If they have enough acreage, if they have the 5.25. So
But one lot doesn't trigger the entirety being,
no, that one lot will
Recessed
be
for
taxed,
tax
I believe,
purposes.
at the full amount, but the
and then
others,
rest of it.
as long as the use of the other ones is still, they have to prove it, right? You have to prove that you're still using it as farm, I believe, as long as that is still being used.
Yeah. That's my
It
understanding.
gets
I
the
wasn't
lower
sure
rate.
the legal side of that. So curious.
okay?
Okay,
All right. Well, Wayne, while you're here though,
yeah.
let's keep
next one.
moving on. So item 5.
What we have before you and what we did have a public hearing on was some changes to our Title 10, having to do with walls. We had previously in our ordinance not defined a wall. We deal with them a lot, particularly retaining walls. But it was just what custom and practice was in the building industry. So what we did was define a wall, retaining wall, and also indicated the requirements for retaining wall as they're built and constructed in the city. And the third change made was we found where the term building inspector was used in our code, but it implied building official. So we recommending changing that terminology to building official. Rather, it's more encompassing rather than the building inspector. So those were the 3 changes. Those were part of your packet to look at and review, and welcome to answer any questions that you might have about those if you have any. It's pretty straightforward. I looked at can't remember if it was Salem, another city's ordinance on walls, and took some from that to incorporate into our definition. So that's
So there's no way to have a 10-foot high wall or 11-foot high wall without it being terraced if engineered?
if it's a retaining wall, and that's what most walls are, that's correct.
It would have to be terraced?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Wayne on that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, updates on grants and proposals for new grant applications. The Creative Aging Grant, Utah Division of Arts and Museums proposal. Janet?
I don't have any updates. So, Carrie was taking point on that. I was just gonna kind of be back up, so I don't know anything on that one.
Don't know if it got submitted.
I don't think that,
I don't think anything happened
Yeah.
on it.
Jody, did you see anything on that? And the application deadline,
It
Was like
short.
2
Yeah.
weeks ago or a week
Yeah.
ago or something.
so the window might have closed.
I haven't heard back from anybody. I didn't
Yeah,
hear.
no, I mean, I think that the burden was on the applicant, so I think we were ready, we stood ready to move it forward.
And I had offered my help, but so did Carrie, but I haven't heard anything.
Okay, well, I guess that will probably be something we'll have to revisit another time if the opportunity presents itself again. All right, item 6B, UDOT grant for strategic and community development, including an updated general plan. Kristen, are you here to? Are you updating us? Okay, well, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I saw you and I thought maybe you had. Okay,
I knew that this meeting was going to be really busy, but we did get a report from the survey that was done with Sunrise Engineering. It's a lot of information, a lot of data that came from that, a lot of comments. You guys probably get a lot of those comments. And so we decided that he will report on that in January. So look forward to that. But right now we're still just kind of in this information gathering phase of this whole.
okay,
all I
great. Pretty good response though. I mean.
Yeah.
numerically,
Based on the number, I think we estimate about a quarter of the households. And the data was really good, as in a lot of similar, not a lot of outliers, everything, there was a few comments here and there where people had strong opinions, but as far as the options that they picked from, if there was, a Likert scale or something like that. So it's fairly consistent, which is good.
Good.
Data.
Okay, thank you. Item 6C, the Culvert project. Guessing that's you, Ted? And who else I'd ask?
Sure. We'll update you. So the culvert project, we did get the grant from from FEMA. This is for some culverts down Broad Hollow. It was a grant application we applied for. It's probably been a year and a half. We've been working on this with them, getting it approved, and it finally got approved through FEMA. So, and this is just for the engineering is all. It's not for the actual construction of it. We have to get the engineering and environmental done. Then if it still proves to be a viable project, they'll fund the construction. So right now it's just the engineering. And we're having our kickoff meeting for that tomorrow with the engineer.
Excellent. And I don't know if that's news. I thought we talked
talked
about
about
this
it.
a little bit. Yeah. So, but still, great news, even if it's yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Can the runoff from the heated driveway go down that culvert?
Yes.
All right.
Well, longer story, but eventually, in part.
Okay,
Okay.
it's just really dangerous at the end of my driveway.
Well, so with that, we'll move on to item 6D, the Ready, Set, Go grant.
That's me again.
That's you again.
Mhm. So this is just a grant we receive for helping with our our wildfire mitigation work. Comes from the federal government. So we were approved for 20,000 this year to use towards mitigation work. When we last talked to the guy at the federal level, he said, just go ahead and submit everything you have and I'll try and get as much money as I can for you. We ended up submitting $25,000, a little over 25,000. This covers our crew for chipping time they spend chipping during our fall chipper days, as well as when Mother Nature helped us out with a lot of mitigation clearing and dead trees. And we had all those dumpsters that we brought in for the residents. And plus we brought in more chipping crews. It'll help cover those costs.
So that grant was for 2024.
Yes, that was this 2024 grant. We have to reapply again for 2025.
Some of our, like mine, still have big piles.
Yeah, and unfortunately we just ran out of time. That the state was good enough to loan us their chipper because for our crew, but that Mother Nature mitigation effort was was larger than our chipper days, and we usually have 30 guys and 3 crews doing chipper days. We had 1 crew with 3 guys trying to do all that Mother Nature damage. So they just couldn't get it all done. And we had to give the chipper back to the state. So we'll get to it in the spring with our regular chipper days.
You got a head start on your street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were huge piles, huge piles.
Now, some people lost like most of their trees, and I lost huge sections of huge trees.
I kept mine.
I
They're
lost a
all at,
fence.
Bent. I
In the
didn't take any
spring,
of the
you'll
street
find
side.
out what
You'll
happened.
find 'em.
Oh, yeah, no, they're there. They're hiding
I've already
in plain
seen some
sight.
more that I missed.
Yeah. All right. And then Utah County Recreation Grant. Is that Chris, our special guest?
No kidding.
Chris or Jody?
You should make Chris
This is the
report
one
on
we
it,
talked
just
about
because.
last
Yeah,
time.
so
Yeah.
this is the one that the Utah County Commissioners just finally had a meeting on, and they approved our application. We will also get the back funds of $4,000 from 2023, so we'll get a total of $5,000 that needs to be spent by the end of the year. But we can spend it pretty easily because the project was for the chips that we got at the park, and the bill we have was for 5,600. So we'll just be able to add $5,000 back into our budget for this year. So,
And have a safer park.
and have a safer park for kids to play on. So we're kind of excited about that.
Yeah. And that was your catch.
In the
Well
future,
done.
though, we'll want to make sure that we allocate funds in our budget to help replace the chips, maybe on a every 2 years.
Yeah, we should.
Because
put that into, the
otherwise,
capital fund and allocate that.
yeah, otherwise it'll come as a big shock again, and it's another $5,600 that we'll have to take out of the budget
Now
in order.
playground gets used quite a bit.
Yeah,
So
so-
we need to keep it
And
maintained.
it is a requirement. It's required by your insurance company. You
Yeah,
have to
so
maintain
we'll
it.
want to probably put it in some kind of account so that we place it on an annual basis or something. So,
Thanks, Jody.
Yep.
So you do have something to add. What was that?
Yeah,
Just
we,
go stand in
You
front
are
of
on
the screen.
Zoom.
we had 2 employees for a minute, both named Chris.
As long as you
and
can
Shelby.
put palm trees behind you.
Oh,
on the
look at
Zoom,
that. There
that'd
he
be-
is.
I love that.
Look at him, yeah.
Reminds me of my work.
Perfect.
No, I just wanted to, first of all, if you have any questions on the financials of the check approval. I also want to go over something. Brian posed a question I thought would be good to go over in the council meeting real quick on some of the balances in the capital projects accounts. Just so you guys can have an update, especially after we close last year's financials out with our audit. So first, are there any questions on the October 2024 financials? You guys haven't emailed me already here. Okay.
You answered everything I had, so.
Yeah. On the check approval? Anything on there?
Can I ask one question? I don't even know how to reference it, but I'm looking at the check register
Okay.
and I don't know. I see Ted, Lance, and Jody. A P card clearing. What does this mean?
So that's the state Visa cards. So
Uh-huh.
they're our Visa or through the state of Utah through US Bank, and they just call it the P card purchasing card. So it's our
Okay,
credit card they carry.
okay,
So Lance used his on the fires, and Jody uses hers for a lot of the.
I see. Thank you.
Good question. Okay, just want to go over a couple of the balances, and specifically in the capital projects accounts. You know, we started years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, putting little pots of money away every year. And so the balances are starting to grow somewhat. We'll look at the fire capital projects. It actually had a lot more in there. It had over $100,000 at one point. Remember last year to reduce property tax burden on the property tax rate, took that money away and borrowed more money for the fire trucks since the interest rates were a little more favorable. So this $10,000 is currently this year. So that's why that balance reset. EMS, we've got about 25,000. It's kind of an odd number, but $25,760 in there. We've been putting that away potentially for a new ambulance when we can start transporting, or an upgraded used ambulance if we're not able to transport once that dies.
And we've accrued that or accumulated that much already.
This money's today if we want.
That's
to spend
cool.
that
Okay,
25
good.
grand, we can do that.
Okay.
Snow plowing, we were trying to put some money away to purchase the snowplow trucks eventually, so we're at $26,000 there. And roads capital projects, now this one's really inflated because we've been carrying money over from years to year, the past couple of years to do some big road projects. Now we got the capital road project plan done, and Ted is working on, actually, I think Ted, you've got some bids you're gonna talk about tonight. That'll take about,
I was just say, didn't we approve to spend that?
yeah, it's gonna be, Ted's doing a good job. And then, sorry, buddy.
Jody's, Janet's here. Don't say that.
I already know. I'm watching, okay? I'm watching.
The Parks Capital Project, we've just been throwing a little bit of money in there each year. And, but that's for some improvements for Janet's pickleball courts, you know, maybe.
I also want an ADA bathroom.
And the last one, something that Carrie had wanted on there originally was the emergency management capital projects. I think that may have been before some other things have changed around, but there's nothing in there yet. There's 2,000 to be slated to go in there. But depending on what you guys, if you want to keep funding some capital projects. That's kind of where we are with the capital projects accounts and balances.
Good to see.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, looks like my budget's
And it is,
doing
it's good to
well.
have you here in person.
Looks like my budget's doing well.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a hoodie skirt on.
Yeah, at least you got pants on. We never know what you're wearing.
Yeah, it's the first time he's worn them in a year.
All right. Ordinance, okay, so item 8, adopting the 2025 meeting schedule, the Woodland Hills City Council.
I looked at that.
Any comments or questions
Basically
on
the
that?
same,
It's
right?
the same format as it's been, pretty much.
Except we've got the one change, right, that relates to the, maybe we didn't include it. It was relating to the day before Thanksgiving.
No, this is our meeting.
Oh, meeting schedule. Okay, this isn't holiday schedule. Okay, excuse me, my bad. Okay. Item 9, appointments to the Planning Commission. Wade?
Yeah, he's gonna need like 10 new ones.
Yeah, we had
Are we running them off?
No, all contrary. They are all interested in staying. Some way we used to have them staggered, and we've lost that staggering. So they're all coming up to be renewed at the same time. So we've got Larry Henry, Severin, Johnson, well, John Stout. Lori's the only one who's not up for renewal. And then Simon Kirschman, who is our alternate. So their terms are due to expire. I've talked to each of them and talked to the mayor about it, and they're all interested in continuing their service on the planning commission. So
Do we ever post anything to see if there's anybody else in the city who is interested and maybe throwing their hat in the ring there?
we haven't yet from a posting
Okay.
because well, people come to our attention and say, hey, I think so and so's interested in serving.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't gone to that posting. We know somebody who we feel comfortable with and bring their talents to the planning commission, and we've reached out to them. But that's been mentioned, and so that would be a means if we ever need to use that.
But we have posted general inquiries, maybe not specific to each committee or commission, but we have, and I think we continue to post an
All the
opportunity for
time
people.
looking
Volunteers.
for volunteers.
Yeah.
Or if
So-
you want to serve on a
So-
committee, I just saw it, we just barely did it somewhere, where if you have a specialty or area of knowledge, please let us.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if we really even have gotten much of a response on that. I mean, I would assume we got an active list, but anyway, obviously, if there's ever anybody that anybody has in mind, I think that those discussions are worth having. But I would push back a little on the notion that we don't offer the opportunity.
Well, that's why I was just asking
Yeah,
to
no,
see
I'm just saying that
if-
we do in a general sense for sure.
if we're ever pushing to maybe get a little bit of turnover there for, some new blood in there. But I don't have a problem with any of these individuals.
doing a
I
great
just
job.
Just
curious
that's
if
kind of
we're
where you
churning
get
it.
some of your future, like, city council people is from planning commission, places like that.
Mhm.
Dave
It'd be good
Pratt
to have some new
is a
blood.
good example of that. He was on the planning commission, went to the council for a while.
So
Okay.
Wayne,
And please convey our thanks to them for their
Okay.
Thank you.
ongoing service, because that's patriotism.
Yeah.
so let me ask you, Wayne, it appears to me there feels more pressure now with changes on your planning commission members. Are they attending pretty good when you schedule meetings? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched a few and they seem to fill all the seats. So
Yeah.
you're happy with that? Okay.
Yes.
That's appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I'm glad for, they all speak their mind,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
And so that's good, and we want that. We get different opinions and so forth, and we haven't always agreed on things that come before us and recommendations, but we've had enough to make a quorum and decision on things, but they're all willing to speak up and speak their mind on things. So it's good.
I was
They're very,
interested.
very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Every one of them is super knowledgeable and they really dig into things and really go through it. It's a good group.
I was especially interested in your word tonight. You said it was unanimous for the zoning change, and that helps a lot for us to hear that. I wondered how the discussion went. Were they all feeling good about this, or did your discussion sway them, or what?
Was there some that were
No, I think,
resistant?
I just
there are
wondered.
a lot of good questions asked, and they got answered and
Okay.
resolved in their mind, things.
Okay.
I don't think we all started out. The one before that, we had some
Right.
contrariness to it, but there was questions raised, and I think the answer satisfied them to
Okay.
be unanimous on it. So
In my years here, I've really depended on your group, and we rely on that. They're important opinions to me. So thank you.
thank you.
All right, thanks, Wayne.
Can I just say at this point, still looking for someone on PTR? Really need to, so if anybody comes to you wanting to serve on a committee, we're
I
down.
got your last member. for you.
I know. And then she quit.
No, Mike Slater. Oh, the other one, but I got Mike Slater for you.
Okay. Well, he's still there.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
If I can think of anyone else, I will.
All right, selling surplus equipment. Is this Ted or Chris?
This is Ted.
Not down, I'm gonna sell.
We need to move
Yeah,
that back row.
This is how Ted earns the money he spends.
Yeah.
Sell it, buy it, sell
I
it,
tried
buy
to
it,
be a,
sell it,
I
buy
tried to be
it.
a net zero employee.
Oh, no.
Right?
We're not even close.
You mean we're making more money than we're spending? We're making a lot more than we're spending, is what I'm hearing then.
No.
You're in charge of roads.
It's money well spent. That's,
Yeah, that's the takeaway, right? So no, we talked about and I brought this up and we're talking about right now selling some of our stuff downstairs and replacing it. The goal is, and let me give you the goal, is to kind of consolidate things, get better equipment that operates and not have so much that doesn't operate. So we've got the old street sweeper downstairs that we'd like to put up for sale. My understanding is that thing really only sweeps uphill and has no brakes coming downhill. So, and last I heard, you even have to tow it while you're sweeping if you want it to really work well.
You need to just sweep downhill.
There's,
it's
yeah,
funny that there's a market for this.
yeah, sweep downhill, no brakes. So yeah.
Lot cities, this thing's
Yeah,
goldmine.
send it to Oklahoma.
No, Goshen would work.
We also have the old mower that we could sell. Want to sell our old riding mower since we don't use it anymore. And then we've got a whole bunch of manhole cover plates, just steel plates. I mean, we've probably got 50 of these things down there. And I don't know what we would ever use that many for. So sell those. And then we have 2 ATVs. And really, we only need 1 ATV. We can use it for dual purposes, winter versus summer. So sell one of the ATVs.
I thought about that one, Ted. The reason why Craig had wanted to keep that one before was we've got a plow for that one, and sometimes they do around here.
Yeah, the plow goes on the big one.
Does it go
The
on
one
big
we're going to keep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the one we want to keep. The plow's downstairs.
Well, it was going on the other one. When they put the tracks on the big one, they weren't plowing with it. They were plowing with the wheeled one.
Was that to
No,
access
we
the
can still-
water tower too? That was
The track
That's
one was.
The tracked one's the access there, but with that paved road we're going to put in to the water, to the well. And we're keeping the one with the tracks anyway.
Okay.
That's the one we want to keep. Want to
That's
get,
also the one that does the Nordic tracking at the park too, right?
Right.
yes. Yeah. And really, we've got heated sidewalks too. So I don't even know if we really have to plow them that much. I
I
didn't
don't know.
last year.
It cleaned up the parking spots and stuff like that. That's what Craig wanted. I
Yeah.
remember
And if
that
we
had
need
it
to, we can
on.
move the plow to the other one.
And if we're not going to be putting the tracks on it, then it would work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just no reason to, I mean, we can use the one 4-wheeler for everything we need. Just moving a plow over. So get rid of one of those. My hopes is to generate money to spend on
on.
a usable street sweeper. So that new mini loader we have, we've got the snow blower attachment. Well, it all comes with it also comes with a street sweeping attachment if we want it. And it was something I think we would actually use and not be in danger.
On Broad Hollow.
Yeah,
And go on to Woodland Hills Drive.
right. And it'd be much easier to operate, safer, stuff like that. So I've already got a quote. So anyway, that's kind of the idea of what most recent items that we'd like to kind of sell and stuff we just don't use and start getting stuff we will use. And takes up less footprint downstairs too.
Because we have a storage issue down there too.
Yeah. So anyway,
All right, awesome. Thank you.
You're next too.
yeah, I know. So I'm seeing.
Hey, and moving on to large purchase requests.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, now you just start. So I'm going to give you a little handout for this one because I'm not as talented as Chris and can't just throw things up on the screen.
This isn't the large purchases I was hoping for, Ted.
That was coming.
Okay.
We're not,
It does say generator.
we're done with large purchases.
No, we're not. Okay, sorry.
How do we pay for this stuff, sir?
This one you've already approved. I'm just giving you.
Oh.
I'm entertained. Keep going. Beat him up.
Read the bottom
Somebody's
line.
got to. The rest of you guys just
It's-
go
it's-
like this.
It's all about the bottom line. Read the bottom line,
It's all about the bottom line. Look at the bottom line.
Oh, wow. I do this for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is on our well project, and I think I've previewed this with you guys before, set you up for it. So as I mentioned, when the well up there has those tanks in the basement, that we really don't make a very efficient fuel system for our generator, and the engineers tried to design something for it. When we've talked to various suppliers, they're just very difficult to work that. It's going to be really operator intense, not a great setup. So we reached back out to the contractor and suppliers and asked them if they would give us prices to do something that would, like we should do, make it user friendly, operator friendly. So we got those prices back now. And what this would involve, instead of using those tanks that are down in the basement and trying to pump the fuel up to another tank that would then feed the generator, this would just involve putting one tank outside, build up a pad, and then we can just run the fuel lines right to the generator. And it'll hook up to the SCADA system so we can constantly monitor the fuel remotely instead of having to send someone up there all the time if the generator is running to make sure we're not running out of fuel and move dipsticks from tank to tank to run the fuel system. This is how it should be done when you set these up. This is the way most commonly is done for backup power at wells and booster pump station facilities. So the tank itself we would purchase through the city to avoid that contractor markup. And so what you're seeing there is the cost of the tank, the double wall fuel tank, and then the contractor to build up the pad around it, do the electrical, tie in the fuel lines, do the SCADA, remove that Connex up there that we have, install the tank, and then do the startup and testing of our generator, because that generator is 5 years old. And right now, CAT's telling us that it's not going to be under warranty. So if there's any issues with it, we're not covered. So they're going to come and help us with the startup and see if we can get it re-warranted once they get it going. So that includes all of that. Then we have some engineering costs that went with that, in addition to other items. When we got into the engineering, a lot of the electrical that needed to be done was just stuff that got more and more intense the more we dug into it. So we're gonna have to kind of engineer some of this stuff. And then they'll deduct out of their current bid the cost that we had put in there for that kind of hokey fuel system that we had in the bid documents originally. So that cost comes back out. So anyway, the net's about $50,000 to do this fuel system. Then I just wanted to give you an update on where that is in the overall project cost. So 693 was the cost for the well improvements. And then, as you recall, we took the road out of that contract and had another contractor come in and do it. Saved us quite a bit of money. So you're seeing the cost to do that access road to pave it. So the total was the 764, and then including this amendment, it'd be 818. The original council authorization for this project was $1,005,000. So we are net a minus $186,000.
Except.
No, except that was your authorization.
Except. I know, but what are the estimated SCSD costs going to be?
And that was
approved
separate
last
from the
year.
original approval, just by the way. But
Okay.
they're 80. We already paid them. They're
Okay.
83,000 or 86,000 was for their costs. They've already been paid, and that came out of our. So we had $180,000 ARPA grant money to put towards
Okay,
this project,
That's right.
and so we paid for the
Have we been able to spend
SESD.
all
We
of it?
used all of it. Yeah, yeah, we just used all. So well, the contractor saying this invoice that we'll use the last like 28,000 we had left.
Isn't the end of this year the deadline?
When we've spent, I think it was 100 and close to all but 28, because the contractor is going to send us an invoice for about 28. Well, he actually sent one to us for about 30 something. So we're going to spend all of it this year.
Good.
So that came out of that ARPA money that we got. Yes,
That one was actually prior to 10. SESD was
sort of.
I mean, you were here as the engineer, but you weren't.
It got re-quoted after.
Yeah, then we redid it.
Got re-quoted.
approved at that
Yeah. And then we went, yeah. And then I took the check down to him about a month ago.
Well, I'm glad we were able to use those funds because for a long time we didn't know what we were going to do with them.
Yeah. Yeah. We've spent the whole 180.
I noticed that.
yeah. Yeah. You got money you need to spend. I told you. You guys asked me the first 6 months why I wasn't spending any money. Well, I told you it was coming.
Yeah, you did. You warned us.
We're just in planning.
But I can't stress enough how valuable this is to the city.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How much
This
So on this, Ted, again, I brought it up in Public Works Committee, but I really would like to see a way of us being able to pump out of that tank as well, or even just gravity feeding it out of that tank.
We can gravity
So
feed it.
that we can utilize that fuel and
Rotate it, yeah.
Because it does go bad after. a couple
Yeah,
months,
that's a
and we
good
don't want it
idea.
sitting in there. We won't use that much when we're cycling it, so we
Part-
we don't want it to sour up.
Part of that cost of building the pad up is to get a gravity
Good.
feed system.
Yeah. So we'll use it on city equipment, so we can cycle that fuel out and bring new fuel in.
Depending on how much we use, it depends how much we put in, how much we use.
Like
But
for the rescue, fill the rescue truck.
I mean, you run that
Well,
thing every
that's-
month for
We gotta be,
4 hours, and that's 48 hours of fuel, which is what the tank will hold. So I don't suspect we're gonna have a lot left over in the tank at the end of the year. But
if we use it.
no, we're gonna run it every month. You have to run
Yeah,
that
you have to
generator
run it.
for
but
about.
it's not-
If it's 48 hours of fuel and we run it for 2 to 3 hours every month, we're just gonna be 2/3 of our fuel gone by the end of the year.
Did you hear,
Speaking-
Brian? We still have to run down and fuel up our diesel trucks and stuff. As you say, it's
Red fuel. We'll
it's
put-
not,
We'll buy, we should buy red fuel for that. We can't put that in our road truck.
That's what we have the service truck for, right? Is to fuel our snowplow trucks and stuff.
okay.
Can
we
we,
can- We can fuel the loader, we can fuel, other things
course.
like that, that would. No, they can't. I don't think, we wouldn't be able to sell our trucks if we ever got red fuel in the tanks. It'll stay in there forever. No, but it's the dye that we have. You'd never be able to sell the truck again. That's why they do it.
what about the fuel that's in those tanks right now? Have we been able to pump that out at all?
It's no good.
It's garbage?
You can put conditioners in them. I just don't know if it's too far
Shouldn't be
gone to
that
condition
old.
it, that we might can condition it.
Yeah, I'd say
So
take.
you can
let's take a look
condition
at it
diesel
and
fuel, right, and use it, but
get it
I
into the
it's
service truck.
been in there probably a little over a year now, so.
Oh, then it's still.
Yeah, but if we can get it into the service truck, then we can get it in and use it.
Yeah, that's going to be, I have no idea how to do that. We don't have a pump system get it out of the basement.
Okay.
So it's going to be down there with your siphoning it out.
Okay,
I have a
let's see
pump.
what we can do.
Yeah.
Thanks for the bottom line. Appreciate it.
All right. That is a great report. Any questions for Ted on that?
No, I'm glad it was less.
Yeah, this will be a great project. This is very important to the city. I mean, this is something that is a crucial infrastructure, and we really need this project to have the backup that we need for our water system. Without this, we are in
When will
not a great spot.
the stand-in power be ready to roll?
Their deadline is the end of March,
Oh,
so
okay.
should be sometime around then. And that includes the whole upgrade project, putting in the new pump, all the new pipes,
Okay.
everything like that.
An end is in sight.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to the pavement preservation project.
So I think you've got in your packets the engineer's recommendation letter. As you remember, we had the pavement management plan completed a few months back. I think we discussed that, and out of that came a prioritization of projects to upkeep our roads. And the first project that was recommended by the engineer, the priority projects, was to do a microsill on 4 miles of road. And so they prepared a design and we put it out to bid. We had 3 contractors that bid on the project. Intermountain Slurry Seal was the low bid, and it was the apparent low bidder and recommended by the engineer for the project for, I think it's $525,000 and some change, which fits right in with the budget that we had planned for this project. We knew that would be pretty much right at the cost. And that is part of that capital road project that you saw a little bit ago to complete this first road project for us.
When will that be done?
It'll be in the spring. Yeah. Yeah. But there's only really 2 state companies, and one we got bid out of state, was an out of state bidder. So there's very few that do this micro sealing. And so if you don't get on their list now for spring, you may not make it. So we put it out a bit early to get on their list. And so, well,
Do we have roads earmarked for this specific roads, right?
Yeah, so it's basically about 3 years ago, we had that water line project done. And with that, we pulverized and repaved those roads. So those roads will be micro sealed. That's about 4 miles of them, those same roads.
All right.
And then we've got future projects already scheduled out and start working on planning and budgeting those for the next priority.
Save our roads.
Yeah.
Our new road, I noticed a sign. Is it open and done? And there's a sign on it. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so the contractor finished it enough to where it could be usable. So, and then he had to go get some equipment. He's off the job for a week or so. So the road was kind of open during that time. Now he's back finishing the roadside ditches and cleaning up some shoulders, putting his riprap in and culverts and stuff like that for the last week. He's kind of been finishing everything up. They still have a road sign to put in, the stop sign and stuff like that. So he closed it while he was working on the road. Not to say that's been followed very strictly,
I
but
was gonna say,
I
I
know,
saw something on it today.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I
think
drove by it on Sunday and saw the sign, but I also thought, yeah, people are still going to be driving.
yeah, it still gets used quite a bit. But in theory, it's a road closed right now while he's working in it. I mean, if people take it as their risk. The road's fine. He's working off the shoulders right now. It's just that during the week he's got equipment in the road, and like today, he had a dump truck that was blocking most of the road while he was dumping gravel to do his ripraps and stuff like that. So,
Okay, I just was curious.
Hey, thanks, Ted. Well, and while you're here, department updates, Public Works and Fire.
the city's still operating, so I feel this first year has been a win. We're not shut down, and water's still flowing, so I'm feeling good. Do you have any? I don't really have any other updates than the well and the roads, which we've already talked about. Unless you have any
Those are
specific.
the biggies.
Fire department going good?
We need volunteers. If you know of people who want to volunteer, especially if there's people around during the days, that's when we're really shorthanded. But we're having people that are moving or choosing to do other things, and so we've lost some. And
Jamin, he's around. I mean, he works like 3 days in Salt Lake. The rest of the time he's around.
yeah, I mean, if he
12-hour
wants to,
shifts, I don't know. He's wildland though. He's not structured. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
yeah.
Okay. I'll talk.
So need volunteers, and then we'll let you talk about the Santa thing.
My husband doesn't have time, or he'd probably like to do it. But
All right, thanks, Ted. Good. Wait, you got a code enforcement update for us?
He's my friend.
Well, you better keep
He's-
them on friendly
he's-
terms.
We've made progress with one of our residents who's we've had some struggles with, but we're progressing and going the right direction with him to get some things properly addressed. We've one of our ordinances has been called into question, and rightfully so. It's been somewhat ambiguous in interpretation of it with fencing, and so we're going to take a look at that and probably do some come back to you with some recommended revisions to clarify some of the issues that can be interpreted a couple different ways. So, but things are going well. Don't have any major significant problems with code matters that have been brought to our attention and things. We know it's a challenge. We get a lot of excuses with people saying, well, so-and-so did it, and so that's why I did it, and they're right, and so-and-so did do it. And so we try to tie loose ends up like that, and try to, one of our goals, which I think we're accomplishing and doing well at, is trying to treat everybody the same, not to show favoritism to anybody, and not seek somebody out or target them or anything like that, but to give everybody equal attention, good or bad, whatever the case is, but treating everybody the same. I hope that we can continue to do that. If you hear of any issues that people don't feel that, please bring it to my attention, let me know, and can reinforce that. as we move forward with code enforcement. So.
And I just say that we talk about code enforcement issues in our staff meeting each week, and I'm always very pleased to hear that in many cases, there will be an issue and Wayne will help find a solution, a constructive solution. And, so I think that that is really valuable because we're charged with enforcing our ordinances, but that doesn't mean we have to be super heavy-handed about it, but it is an oath that I think we are obliged to uphold. So, but I just want to note that because I think that Wayne does a really good job finding solutions.
I would like to thank Wayne for reporting back to me about a street in my area that's cleared, and it's still cleared. So
Good.
you did good. I appreciate the feedback too that you gave me.
Okay. We worked with the sheriff on that too. Very cooperative and made a difference.
Well, it still has stuck. So,
So, yeah,
you're successful.
good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right, moving on to item 14. I did not get to my SESD meeting today, and so I have nothing to report there. MAG, though, as I mentioned, we did meet with, they had some representatives come and present some of the offerings that I do think, and we're going to make a point, and Janet will have to talk with you about the communication side of it, but I think that there are some resources that MAG offers that aren't necessarily going to be funneled through the city, but our role will be to communicate those resources to the residents.
Okay.
I think that some of it could be really beneficial. So
Okay.
that's all I have. Councilmember Hilliard?
So we have with my last board meeting with the dump, so not with the transfer station, but with the dump, because I'm on that board as well. They were trying to increase the rate that they are giving to the transfer station. We were able to fight back on that, and that rate did not get implemented now, but we were able to kick it back to July. So that's when the financial year will hit, which will then help us all kind of adjust to that increase.
So dump now, right? Dump and dump a lot before July?
Yes, exactly. But also it'll just impact us from a day-to-day operation of the city, right? From when when waste management comes through and picks up all of our trash. So our rates will increase slightly. Not terribly a ton. It's only 50 cents, I think, a ton, but that adds up. It is. And they were trying to push it earlier, and we were able to push that off. I usually try not to add anything to Jody's plate, but I was wondering, is there any chance, Jody, we could send a letter from the city to the transfer station, just as a thank you for all those dumpsters? Because as I said last time I reported, they were very kind and donated a number of services due to so many trees falling throughout the city. And they helped us probably, I don't know, $15,000 worth of dumping that they took care of for us.
Did we have anyone take trees like to their home that we heard about? I mean, I lost a fence, but I just wondered if anyone had like damage to their house, or did everyone get pretty lucky? Did we ever hear of anybody having any of that? That's good.
It could have.
Trees shouldn't be that close to your house anyhow. City ordinance.
I know they're not supposed to be.
But
So they got it coming is what you're saying.
unless they have a sprinkler, and then they're within the code.
We had a huge one take out a section of our fence, but
Did you?
yeah, it was.
Yeah, thankfully. No, the transfer station hasn't reported any homes showing up.
Well, no. I know. I just wondered, when you mentioned that, I wondered if anyone had any damage to their.
No,
Yeah.
that's it
Fair
for me.
question. Okay, thanks, Ben. Councilmember Hutchings?
We haven't had any meetings since my last report on either Mount Nebo or Sumba, so.
Okay. Move on. Thank you. Councilmember Kinnison.
Central Utah 911 successfully went through an audit, just like our city did, and they had a good report on that. I also want to mention, believe it or not, there were some fire departments that did nothing on their radios. So when they switched over, they couldn't communicate on their next call.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we need to thank
Still.
Ted for taking care of that. There had to be some action on our part to be able to communicate, and Ted did that for our city, and those are really important. So,
Bravo.
yeah, that's all I have.
We actually responded the other day to a neighboring city, mutual aid, and when when Ted called us on scene, Central gets on the radio and says, engine 191, just thought you might want to know that you're probably the only person that has a radio on the scene. And when he got up and talked to the chief, he's like, well, we would have canceled you, but I didn't have a radio.
Whoopsie.
So we're now EMS, fire, and communications?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Councilmember Lunt.
Oh, and you'll talk about Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first I had a PIO meeting, yesterday. Yeah.
Nice.
A lunch. So it was really good. They talked about AI and just, resources available and kind of how to use AI kind of going forward. I thought it was really good. Just being able to get information in a crisis. They were kind of talking about, and you can see this with Chat GPT and a lot of things, but just how they can analyze, like you can input data, it can analyze the situation and kind of, if you have, anyway, they were just talking about kind of going forward, especially for emergency managers, that it'll be really helpful. But it was pretty interesting. Some of it was way over my head, but that's okay. And then just talking about social media, last time I had mentioned a Facebook page that is claiming to be an official page of the city. And we have had a review from the attorney, the county attorney, who said that it's not criminal. It certainly isn't honest. You would hope that people would just change it, but apparently it's not a criminal thing. So there's not a lot we can do other than hoping that the owner of that page would want to do the right thing and change the name. But I just wanted to kind of update on that because I kind of came in hot on that one, just because in my industry, that's a big deal. But the way, it showed and the way it works for cities, I guess it's not as big of a deal. So anyway, just kind of wanted to let you know that there. And then Saturday, Santa Claus is coming to town. And so we have Buddy the Elf and possibly the Grinch.
I mean, you've advertised it, so the Grinch will be there.
Okay. We have the big candy canes again for all the kids, and we have the 7 stops, and it's been posted quite a bit. Tomorrow, I'm going to get the signs up. So if you see red and white candy canes strapped to poles around town, please don't take them down. Because Santa will be sad. Just let me keep them there until Saturday afternoon, and then I'll take them down.
That's COVID for you.
Thanks. Don't take them down. Okay, thank you, because that's a lot of work to put them up. So, but we're excited. We had pretty good turnout for it last year, and I'm gonna try and do some little video feeds, the first stop or two, so that people saw it and they see it. They'll come out. We'll try and do some of that too, but we kind of had some people that were chasing us a little bit. And some of those stops, like at the 2 church parking lots, we had pretty good sized crowds. So I tried to adjust the times a little bit. We had the first couple stops, we didn't have as many people and we were there longer. We kind of didn't know what to do. I think we also got there 5 or 10 minutes early. And so we were kind of like, this is a long stop. So I tried to adjust all those times. So it should be good.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a fun occasion, and thanks for all planning on that.
And then I get a huge break from city events for a minute, and I kind of need it because I'm a little burnt out.
Oh, we'll give you something to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Woodland Hills days, and then the minute it was over, we had to help plan trunk or treat, and then the minute it was over, we had to help plan Santa. So, yep, I'll be happy.
I'm sure they could use you on the Maple Festival.
I'm on that one too.
So people are tapping now, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't have to do any of that. I just have to.
Was that an intentional pun?
Yeah.
Tapping
No.
out?
That's technically a separate thing.
I
Like,
know, it's.
all I
separate
do is help with the actual day.
coordination of it.
And I am going to give myself January off, and then I'll think about it in February. So anyway,
Fair enough.
fair enough, right? I need a break.
Yep, no, you've earned it.
Okay, anyway, that's
Thank
all I
you.
got.
All right, I do feel on the page that identifies itself with this community, the community page, I do think it's important that we know. I mean, I think we've got to be careful that we don't say it's dishonest because, we're not here to police speech.
And
We're here to simply say that, I mean, our concern, my concern, and it remains, is that people will think that it is affiliated with the actual city in a sense that it isn't.
and
as a
that's my
page.
personal opinion, not a reflection of the city. And I guess we're here in a public meeting, and so I have to be careful about that. But I mean, if you know you're not the official page, why would you want to represent yourself as such?
But it's not a violation. We've run it through our legal resources, and so I think that it is important to specifically for us to retract that. I mean, we did say that in our last meeting, and so, but I would encourage the operator of that page to also not suggest that it is a free speech issue because it's not. It's simply the name of the page, and so that's where our concern was, and that's where my concern remains. But I do think that it's important to specifically say that, we're not saying anybody is being dishonest. We're not saying that anybody is
Yeah.
violating any law, but there is and remains concern with the name of the page. So,
It's definitely confusing, especially for some of our community that maybe not as savvy.
okay, item 15, upcoming, and
Can I-
I didn't excuse Carrie, so I'd like to offer.
On Carrie's behalf, I have a killer update.
Okay, let's hear it.
I know you're just dying to hear about the
Well, I
feral.
know it got a little testy last time, so.
Yeah, and
And it took a lot of time.
I'm just here tonight to give you a feral cat update. I went to the Provo City Council when Best Friends Animal Group was there, and they stated their case before the council. The council voted, and they support the program. So that's important to happen first before we even think about it. And if anyone in the audience has a question about feral cats, I know more than I want to, but it's a program that's probably going to start up in Provo when administratively they do their thing. So it
So this is
passed.
when they pick up the cat and
They pick
neuter
up the
it, drop
cat,
it off,
they
or
neuter
spay
it, and we bring it back to where they picked it up. Yeah.
Monica
So-
What if
and I
it's
are
not a
waiting for you to
feral
pick up
cat?
our cat because our cat looks feral, but it's a house cat.
Now, what if it's not feral?
It's
What
going to
if
get
it's your
neutered.
cat?
It's going to get
Have a collar.
it's going to get spayed and neutered.
My
No,
cats
cats
don't
ain't.
have a
Don't.
collar.
So
No
it's
shit.
going to come back to you neutered and spayed and vaccinated.
I would
Yeah,
get
I
it
know,
chipped.
but maybe we can get a shot.
Yeah,
so
free.
we'll just
Let me
it
come
roll.
up and trap it. We can do it. All
We'll
right.
build
that's-
that one direct to the
and I-
lenders.
And not to be mean to Carrie, I communicated with her every step of the way, and she knew all about this and knew the outcome. So
Great.
she's aware of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, upcoming city council meetings. Anything? Anybody is just,
Dying.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm ready. I'm just not gotten anywhere on some of the stuff I'm working on.
well, we do what we can, right?
No, it's been crazy.
You got 11 more years you can take.
Yeah. All right, well then why don't we take a break and reconvene at 7:50? Okay. Let's call this city council meeting to order. Councilmember Kinnison, would you offer our prayer? And Councilmember Lunt, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful this evening to be together and to be able to discuss the city's needs. We ask that Thy Spirit would be with us to help us make decisions that benefit our city and make lives better for all of those around us. We are grateful for those that serve our city, for those that volunteer their time and efforts. We are grateful for this beautiful place we have to live, and we ask you to help us take care of it. We're grateful for our mayor and the council and the time we share together and the things we appreciate. We are grateful for. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
We stand. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, well, we will now invite any public comment. We chased off most of the public, but there are a few public here, so Robert, Monica, and Natalie, that's the three of you. Okay, nobody online, so we'll close the public comment portion. Item 20, minutes of the November 12th, 2024 City Council meeting.
We'll make a motion to
Okay.
to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Lunt to approve the consent agenda,
I second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item 21, ordinance 2024-25, amending city code title 11.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion to approve by Councilmember Hilliard,
I read it all. I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Lunt. Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 22. Wayne, would you prefer we do these as A, B, C, and D, or just as a singular, or actually Jody? I don't, is there a, okay. Then ordinance 2024-26, adopting a change in zoning for the listed parcels.
I'll make a motion to adopt the changing of zoning in those 4 areas, 4 parcels into the zone of R119.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Hilliard.
It's a tough one to second, isn't it?
No, it's because I've already done it, the last 2 things. I'm trying to give someone else an opportunity.
It's a big thing
I know.
to me.
Same here. It really is a big thing, but it does need to get seconded. I mean, even to have
And-
discussion.
Yeah, and I wouldn't vote against it,
Me either.
but I'm inclined to. You know, it's a tough.
I'm not, unfortunately. So I'm going to second as long as we can have discussion prior to this, so we can have it on the record.
Okay, a second by Councilmember Hutchings. So would you like to have the discussion then before we take the
Yes.
vote? Okay,
Yes. So, Ben, I appreciated your comment, and I don't know the legality of that, but my feeling is after looking through this, and unfortunately, it's going to go against a friend, right? But with it being in our city plan, with the exception of one of those plots, I have no way to go against this request. And like I was mentioning before, it may be a good timing for them to do it now as the city plan is being re-looked at, but it might not be. It, might have nothing to do with that. But I do want to mention that, I mean, it obviously has been in our city plan for some time. We've had that city plan for a while, and that's why we're redoing it now. And I want to put it on the record that while I'm unfortunately going to vote differently than one of my friends would prefer me to vote, and I didn't hear anything against the property that is not in our city plan zoned for, is in R2 zoning. So I have no reason not to change that one. But I wanted to make sure that got on the record so that I could say I heard the citizen who spoke up today. But I feel it's my obligation to go a different route.
I don't think any of us want to see smaller lots and smaller houses down there. I mean, I know
No.
I don't. I don't think any of us want to see that, but there's a legality where we have an obligation. And I think we have to follow that, unfortunately.
I agree.
Well, I think if you look at these parcels and you compare them to the other R119, I believe it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Because the rest of the city that is R2 or R1 are heavily dense wooded areas. And the areas in our city that are not heavily dense or wooded areas are 119 or
119.
even smaller. Because I think it would be weird to build for the look of our city. I think it makes more sense as an R119 personally than an R2. Just the feel, just it wouldn't work. Now, the way those become developed, I'd love to make sure I personally am at the planning commission to have my insight on how those are laid out and anything like that, because I think there are some great opportunities for the city from a city plan standpoint, from the grant we just got from MAG concerning the trails and what that might look like. I think there are ways also with CCNRs, and Robert does a great job with CCNRs on his, on D, and he works well with the Reed family there, or with Reed and them. I believe personally that there can be some great things built in there that actually could really beautify that land, more so than even what it currently looks like. Because right now it's great as a big field, but I think there's some great opportunities if we can keep that in our mind if and when they come into a development stage.
Yep. And the landowners have got the majority, they should have the majority of the rights. I feel that about my own property. And so I feel, I feel I don't have any choice and have to vote against someone I care about.
Well, it's hard, but
That's
yeah,
what-
I'm a
what-
big
that's-
proponent of personal property rights,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard. It's one of those things that if you don't want the land next to you changed, then you need to buy it.
Then you need to buy it.
And if you
Exactly.
can't buy it, you can't control it, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can watch Channel 2 in an hour and watch a story on that tonight.
So I respect each council member and I value your opinions, but the thing that I value most in this decision is the planning commission. We've given them the charge of considering all the good, all the bad, all the things that we need to for making a decision on this. But I will also mention our friend that he would not vote this way. And it affects him personally. And I do care more about the citizens who live around those areas, because when they bought and moved there and it looked one way and now it may look in the future differently. And rezoning has always bothered me. And Wayne remembers I voted against some of the R2s to R1s in the city because people moved to that location because it was R2 and then we switch it. I thought was unfair, but again, I appreciate the planning commission for helping me vote correctly on this, because I think I am, even though it won't make everyone happy that I consider friends. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are we ready to vote? Okay, Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Yes.
Motion carries.
You did have to start with me, didn't
Yeah, I wanted you were the one that leading.
Yeah. If you'd have said no, I'd have said
Do you
no. If
wanna-
you'd have said
we
no.
can redo it. You can start with me, man. if you want.
All right. Moving on to item 23, ordinance 2024-27, amending city code, title 1021, 1011 AD, and 1031.
I can't remember which one this is.
This is the walls,
And
right?
That's walls.
Oh.
So tear down the wall.
I hate the cement retaining walls. They're ugly.
They're awful.
They don't fit up here.
I mentioned this in planning commission and I don't remember the answer. I apologize, Wayne. But I talked about the height of a wall and then when we have to put a fence on top of a wall, that fence is not included in the height of the wall, correct? So,
Just, if you're gonna make comment, just please make sure it's into a microphone.
There's a fence that's allowed on top of the wall for safety
for
reasons.
safety, yeah.
And the ordinance one thing, retaining walls which are adjacent or parallel to a street frontage of a property cannot be more than 42 inches in height, including any top of wall fencing. So that's along a street.
Okay.
So there's that restriction on a wall along a street. Walls over 10 feet, and this is the question that was come up, must be terraced. So no single wall can be taller than 10 feet. Now, they can make that a combination of rock, brick,
Yep.
iron fence on the top, or all rock
So-
and brick. So that's as tall, they can be terraced, but that's as tall as a fence can be.
So what my question was is, if it's up against another property and so we need to put a safety fence on top because the other property is going to now have a drop off. And what we're retaining is 10 feet. But they need to put a 4-foot fence on that for safety reasons. Now is that a 14-foot wall and must require terrace?
Okay, let me read another part of
Okay.
this. Fencing atop of retaining walls shall adhere to the fencing section of this code with the restriction in number 2, which is the 42-inch thing. So how tall are our fences in the city? Maximum 6 feet, unless it's going around a sport court or garden or whatever. So those two in combination can't be taller than 6 feet. The fence and the wall and the fence. If they want to put a fence on top, then the wall cannot be, the total combination of the two can't be taller than 6 feet. So if they're putting that against a property line,
So I'm
Your own
talking a
fence.
retaining wall. Let's
that's,
if it's a retaining wall and it's
And that's a
going up
retaining
against
wall.
another property, which we've got some of those in the city, at least one I know of, and we need a fence on the top because the house up here needs to have safety so they don't fall off of that retaining wall. And if I have a 10-foot retaining wall that does not require terracing, and I put a 4-foot fence on top of that retaining wall for safety, now is that considered a 15-foot or 14-foot wall that now has to be terraced, and so I lose some of my property?
correct.
Okay.
So wall
It
is
can't be taller than 10 feet.
wall plus fence.
Yes. Excuse me, that can't be taller than 6 feet. A wall and a fence.
So a
Fence
6-foot
atop
wall.
retaining wall shall adhere to the fencing section of the code with the restrictions in number 2 above. So fence atop a retaining wall can't be taller, of what our code says, 6 feet.
Correct. I get that.
So, or you can put a wall at 10 feet, no fence. And terrace it, or a single wall against
10
a
feet, yeah.
property line for a retaining wall.
And then if I put a fence on top of that as a safety fence,
You can't do it.
You'd have to terrace it to do it. Okay, then.
All right, so, but there appears to be some maybe disagreement as to this interpretation. Is there something that we want to?
So, I guess for
I'll be honest.
maybe this is a discussion after.
Chris is sensitive to being able to hear this meeting.
All right, I mean, if it's something that you don't feel needs to be,
Well, I think that the wording in this is, that's why I brought it up, because I don't
Yeah.
think the wording is proper in what my thoughts are what it should be.
Which part of the wording?
So if I have a 10-foot fence or 10-foot retaining wall, it should not need to be terraced whether I have a fence on top of it or not. If a fence is put on top of it for safety reasons, then I don't think that that wall needs to be terraced, period. And I won't vote for it that way.
I don't think the ordinance says that.
I want the clarification of that. That's what I'm saying is the way I read the ordinance is it's included in the wall height. Therefore, if you put a 10-foot, say you put a 6-foot fence or say a set 8-foot retaining wall. So it's well below our terrace. And then you put a 42-inch fence on top of that. That retaining wall now needs to be terraced because it's over 10 feet, because it's included in that 10 feet. And I can't be behind that. I think that if you put a safety fence on top, that it should not be included in the wall height. Only what's retaining in a retaining wall. Because if I've got a house up here and a house down here and they have a retaining wall and I need a fence to keep them from falling off into my driveway or yard or pool or whatever I've got over there, then I don't think I should have to terrace that wall and lose more of my property because we're including the height of the fence in the wall height.
So are you suggesting that a fence could be 20 foot tall then?
No, I'm suggesting that a wall,
Or a wall?
Could be 10 and then the
but it'd be
fence sits.
if it's 20 feet
Or
tall,
4.
it'd have to be terraced, right?
Well, if you got a 10-foot wall and you're putting a 10-foot fence on top of it,
I'm not saying you could put a 10-foot fence on top.
okay?
I'm just saying it still have to fall within our guidelines of fencing, right? But the wall.
Meaning what?
the
That it
fencing
can't be taller than,
Than 6 feet,
that's correct.
correct. But if you put it on top of a wall, it shouldn't force the retaining wall. Now, this only has to do with retaining walls.
Yes.
Not
Let me see
a
if I
wall
can
that's used as a
draw
fence.
this. So if I've got a wall here, right? Let's call that a boulder wall, and that's 8 feet, right? Then I put a 6-foot fence here. The wall height is calculated here, or is it calculated here?
Wall height is calculated at what our code is. It can't be taller than 6 feet unless it's just a wall. Then it's just a wall, it'd be 10 feet.
So if there's a fence on the top, this is the calculation
It can
here.
only go up to a total of 6 feet.
Yeah,
if
I'm
you're
saying,
putting a fence on top.
so this is
Whatever
the fence.
If the fence is 9 foot, you put a 1-foot fence on top, the wall.
So it can only be 10 feet total between the wall and the fence.
So this,
Correct.
Well, if,
10 feet total here.
So what he's saying.
and I don't, I think that we should be able to, I think it should read where we could put a fence on top of a retaining wall, not a fence on top of a wall that's used as a fence.
Okay, so I think that what we have here is a crossroads right now. So are there sufficient votes for the language as it currently reads? That would be you three.
I
think
think
you'd have
there's
to
some
take-
clarification required. I
No,
also,
I'm just saying as it reads, it's a no, right? Is that a correct assumption?
I'm a yes.
You're a yes, as it reads.
as it reads, I'm also a no, but for a different reason.
Janet, so you would be the deciding vote on this.
Oh,
Oh, no, actually, you wouldn't.
No.
I guess I would.
We should split it just so the mayor finally gets a
Yeah,
vote.
let's do that.
except,
Unless
except
you
that
vote
I'm a
no.
no.
If it's no, then you don't get to vote.
This is
Yeah.
one part of the definition, too, remember.
Except I hate retaining. I
A
don't want it
wall
taller.
is not a fence, nor is a fence considered to be a wall. So they stand by their own definition. Retaining wall is a retaining wall.
Mhm.
If it doesn't retain anything,
Agreed.
Right, but then you're
100% agree.
contradicting what you just said, so we're confused. And that's why we're asking.
Well, I think that the ordinance has those definitions as part of them already, right?
Okay.
So if you're interpreting it, then if you're stacking a fence on top of a wall, then I think that what you're saying is that would not, the entirety of the structure would not constitute a single wall, right? Or
If
it
it's a
would.
retaining wall.
Yeah, but if it's a retaining wall with a fence on top of it, a retaining wall with a non-retaining fence on top of it, that would not all be considered a retaining
That would
wall.
be a 10-foot wall. That's the max. That fence is not a retaining. I
Correct.
mean, it's a safety feature, correct?
Yes.
And if that's what you want, we probably do need to clarify that in here. But that's not what is intended with this ordinance.
So then the next question would be, is this something that you feel can be addressed with a relatively simple amendment? I don't know,
I'm
would it have
concerned
to
because
go
Ben
back to
has
the
another,
commission, or would it be
another
something-
concern with
I'm
this
just
one,
wondering, like, if there's a
No,
slight
mine's
amendment that can be made
vernacular.
tonight, if we were
Which
to
we could
vote on
fix
it,
easily.
or if you'd rather have it.
No, that's your call.
So-
If you want to make that change, tonight, you approve it?
So if there's language that you can agree upon that would address the concerns, except you say you have a different concern, so.
So
I don't
mine
know,
is.
maybe it would be better
No,
to send it
mine's
back to the
super
drawing board.
simple, and I believe we'll all understand it just because building code requires this, or our building code in the city. It says, number one, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Wayne, but it says all exterior retaining walls which exceed 4 feet in height may require engineering for stability regard. I want that may to put shall. All exterior retaining walls which exceed.
Doesn't say a fence on top.
Correct. This is me. I'm
This is a
talking about
separate
something
issue.
else.
Yeah.
This is a separate issue.
It says may require engineering. Our code requires. So I want may changed to shall. That's all I want. Just so it doesn't have a, because this then contradicts other codes. So if we're over 4 feet, it needs to say shall require.
Okay, so that's
Then-
one potential amendment. and
Then you want to
as
change the next may to shall as well?
Let me ask-
There's two mays in that.
Let me see.
Let me ask
I hate
that.
shells.
If there would be any time when
Hate shells.
a 5-foot wall would not require engineering. Ed, can you answer that? Okay,
But if it's landscaping,
All, anything over 4 feet is a retaining wall.
okay.
Unless you're building, I guess if you're just building a wall, like in between a gate, you
So
don't need engineering for that.
is there something pressing that this needs to be approved with our
This is under
I don't-
retaining.
so I just
verbal
thought there was a
amendments, or could we
simple-
bring it back in January with the changes?
can,
I know that was a sigh.
but there's nothing prohibiting
I think we can probably figure this
With
one out real
a
fast.
person doing just as
They
has
please.
been suggested, potentially,
Okay,
with a 10-foot wall and a 10-foot fence on top of it.
okay.
Well, no, we don't want to put it, it should still, a fence on top should still
Be
Adhere
6 foot
to-
or less.
To what?
to city code, to
The fencing
city
code.
Which
fencing
is
code.
what?
6 foot. Right?
Okay, so you've got a 16.
So
foot
I'm only,
fence.
I'm only considering from, here's the land and here's the land that we're trying to retain the wall. This still can only be 6 feet from this maximum.
But what he's saying though is if you're the person on the downhill slope of that, you potentially got a
Yeah.
16-foot wall you're staring at.
You're the one building it.
Well, you're looking at a
What's your
10-foot
backyard?
wall with a fence.
Right, but it's a 16-foot,
I wouldn't want it. I mean, that's my own.
but we
thing.
do live on the side of a mountain.
But we live on the side of a mountain and we do have to have retaining walls. And I know one of them that's on Woodland Hills Drive that has a similar situation. And if it needs to be terraced, if you include the fence height in this, of course, if you include the fence height, you couldn't actually put a fence up there unless you went from the higher land, right? The higher level of land. But if you put a fence on top of a retaining wall, it should not change the retaining walls.
You're putting the fence on it for safety.
For safety purposes.
Not retaining wall purposes.
Yeah, because, it's not a retaining, it's not It's not a retaining anything. It's just a fence for safety purposes.
So do you have a proposed language that you would be
Do you want that on the street side too?
No,
I don't feel
that should still only be the 42 inches,
Think
right?
it's a retaining wall? I build a 5-foot retaining wall in front of my house to hold the berm back. I can put an additional fence on top of that.
at 42 inches.
That,
'Cause that
would-
that is a question. You're right. That's actually a question. I appreciate you bringing that up.
That there was some purpose in it.
Yeah,
Well, no, I'm saying that you could do it at 42 inches.
but the retaining wall is already over 42 inches.
I'd,
Yeah, you could only,
retaining walls which are adjacent or parallel to a street frontage of a structure cannot be more than 42 inches in height, including the top of a wall fencing. Okay. I would say I think it makes more sense from the street vantage point. You've got 42 inches.
Yep.
If you're headed down, that's a negative number, right? I think that makes more sense, and that's an enforceable.
And you could still put a 4-foot fence on top of that if you're going down.
I do
For
think
safety.
that this is becoming complex
Is
enough
it-
that I don't know that this, I mean, if it were just changing a simple word, it might be something we could do more on the fly, but I think that this seems like something that requires additional deliberation. But it's your vote. So if you think that there's something that,
Yes, correct. And
yeah, no, and I'm just, that's true.
I jumped ahead of it and I apologize.
No, and I
Maybe
kind
last
of
time.
lost track of that too. All right. But I guess since the consensus is no on this, I would just like to, is it
Table
worth
it?
batting around more?
Should
Or
we
is it
table
something
it?
that we're ready to vote on?
I'm gonna suggest we table it.
Okay, so a motion. to
And I know-
table this.
Sorry.
no,
Bring
that's
it
fine.
back in
no,
January.
You're good.
I'll second
Yeah.
the motion to table it.
Okay, a second, so a motion by Councilmember Lund, seconded by Councilmember Hilliard. Tabling, roll call, Jody? Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lund,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchins.
Yes.
Okay.
Just
back to
till
the drawing board.
January.
Okay, can I ask, any of you, you have some specific language that addresses your concern? Give it
Yeah,
to me.
I absolutely am going to do that.
Okay.
Because I just had some concern about it.
Okay, very good, not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
We haven't done that to you in a while. I'm sorry.
Just every
You
time.
didn't vote no.
Short-term rental.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Take it
Uh,
back.
All right, item 24, resolution 2024-33, approving October 2024 check disbursements.
I move we approve those.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Kinnison,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 25, ordinance 2024-28, adopting the 2025 meeting schedule for the city council.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lunt, seconded by Councilmember Kinnison. Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution, item 26, resolution 2024-34, appointing commissioners to the planning commission as presented by Chairman Franson.
I move that we appoint the commissioners to the planning commission.
Okay, that's a motion by Councilmember Hutchings,
I'll second that.
seconded by Councilmember Hilliard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 27.
I'll make a
Sorry,
motion.
You breaking out the caffeine? Laurel's had enough.
Well, low blood sugar.
All right, Janet has approved, or made a motion to approve.
The sale of surplus equipment.
Okay. Get a second on that.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 28, approval of change order for the Broad Hollow Well project.
Since we're gonna save some money, I will approve the change order for the Broad Hollow Well project.
which includes naming it the Janet Lunt Well.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
The
Please
the
no.
lunt generator.
All right. That's a motion by Councilmember Lunt,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Yes.
Item 29, approval of large purchase requests, including a backup generator for the Broad Hollow Well.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Hilliard,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
and Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
And last, item 30, awarding contract for the 2025 pavement preservation project.
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Hilliard,
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I'll second that.
seconded by Councilmember Kinnison. Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison.
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, there being no other items of business, if there is a interest in going into a closed session, we certainly can do that.
If we have reason to, we still have time. Maybe we should briefly.
There is one relatively minor update that is probably worth, so it's a closed session to discuss a personnel issue, so it probably would be beneficial to go into a closed session.
Okay.
I move that we go into closed session.
Okay,
Well,
motion by Councilmember
I'll
Hutchins,
second that.
seconded by Councilmember Kinnison, Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchins.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session. Thanks, everyone. Actually, I mean, this is, oh,
Sorry.
all right, well, okay, so we're back, we've exited closed session, so we just, I just was informed that I have the authority to make a motion to adjourn or adjourn the meeting, and I'm going nuts with power, so meeting adjourned.
Look at the power.
Yep, you feel that?